All right, everyone. Well, today it's a red day recap, and I'm a little frustrated because you know what? I am red on all of the stocks I traded. 4 out of 4 stocks. I am red across the board today. There's the P&L down $3,828.85. Now, I'm grateful that none of these losses are huge, but collectively they add up to a decent sized red day. My max loss historically has been $5,000. I've been feeling like maybe that's a little too big given the market that we've been in for the last few months. Losing a full 5 grand feels like a lot. I'm hitting $5,000 green days. I had one yesterday. I was up over 5,000 on Tuesday, but my average green days this year have been about $2,500. So, I'm not like knocking it out of the park. I'm having a lot of sort of base hit days, which look, that's fine. I can have a great year with base hit days. And of course, if I have a couple of months with a few really nice trades, that's going to make a big difference. But nonetheless, I wanted to keep my losses a little tighter. So I've been sticking with the rule of not increasing my share size until I'm first up over $1,000 on the day. So naturally today, I never sized up. However, I was considering it on LSDI because my max position size of 5,000 shares, I just knew it wasn't enough size to really make what I felt like would be enough money to even justify the trade. But when I broke the ice on the first trade on LSDI, I lost $800 even with 5,000 shares. So then I was just like, you know what? I don't even think I want to trade it again at all. And I didn't. So I only had one trade on that. Okay, so I traded 4 stocks. I took a total of 5 trades today, and each one of them were losers. This is a historic day in the sense that my accuracy is 0. So let's break it down. How did it begin? Well, this morning I sat down at about 7:40, which is a little late. I looked at the scans on my phone at about 7 a.m. and I noticed that we had a lot of these low-priced stocks, penny stocks on the scans, and I was like, nah, FFIE. Oh gosh, I don't think I want to trade this. You know, these are these types of stocks usually are difficult to day trade. People who make the most money on them are people who bought and held for a couple days. But that's not the way I trade, and that's not the way I think about risk. I understand, and this is one of those weeks where we've seen, Barstool's Dave saying, oh, we bought, $250,000 worth of AMC and GameStop, and he was up $500,000 or whatever it was. And it's like, you see that and you're thinking, man, I should I have just thrown 25 grand or 50 grand on one of these and just let it ride? But that is the gambling mentality. And there's nothing wrong with gambling. If you like gambling, there's nothing wrong with that. Gambling on GameStop or AMC, maybe those are good gambles. They paid off this week. But that's not the way I think about trading. For me, I try to be consistent and I try to be green pretty much every single day. It's not about hitting, a couple of nice wild card home runs a few times a year. It's about showing up every single day and being green more often than not. Now, obviously today's a red day, but nonetheless, this is sort of the way I look at trading, is that I have to show up every single day and try to be green, try to be consistent. And I don't feel comfortable just throwing money on something and letting it ride. If I lose on it, then that feels like that takes off of my day trading profits, and it just doesn't feel good for me. So, sometimes it does mean I'm, I guess, leaving some opportunity and profit on the table, but in any case, so FFIE, there's obviously people that made money on this who just bought and held for a couple days. Same with GameStop, AMC. That's not the way I trade. So this one for me, day 3 moving higher, I just didn't want to trade it. Not my cup of tea. TSRI, this one's trading flat. So it's a written communications regarding a buyout offer. So it's flat at that $13 level. There's a couple others on here, but what happened was when I sat down, it was 7:35, 7:40 when I finally sat down to my computer, and I sat down and saw this had just happened. All right. Stock goes from $5 to $11. And it happened right at 7:35, and I had been kind of slow getting over here. I was helping my kids getting ready for school, and They were having a little bit of a hard time this morning, and so I was coming over a little late. I was a little frazzled. And I sit down and I realize I missed this huge move. Now, the fact is, it was on very light volume and the spreads were probably pretty large. So I don't know how I would have actually done on it. I'd like to think I could have made money on it, but it's possible I could have lost. Anyways, so this is the first thing I see when I sit down, and I'm like, all right, well, I just have to wait for a setup to form. So I'm sitting, and I noticed that it's a recent IPO, right? IPO'd yesterday, and then this big squeeze this morning. So one of the first stocks I hit the scanner this morning after I had sat down was Ray, RAY. And I pulled it up, and the first thing I saw was it's a recent IPO. And given the move we had just seen on JDZG, I was like, oh, this is going to have sympathy momentum for sure. I mean, I really was quite certain it would. And it didn't. I got in it at $5 and I added at $5.50. It hit a high of $6 or just about that. And then it dumps down to $4.50. And I lost $749 first trade of the day. So I'm like, all right, well, that wasn't so fun. But, okay. So no sympathy momentum on that one. All right. So I'm just going to have to be a little bit careful. So the next stock pops up, hits the scanner. It's BFRG. And BFRG I've traded before. It's kind of beaten up here. And look at this candle. All right. So now 2 in a row. This one got me right here. I jumped in as it was squeezing up, was looking for the move higher, and then rejection. I was green on it, but then in an instant, I'm red. Okay, so I lost $500 on that. So I'm like, okay, $1,200 in the red here. Let's slow down. Let's just step back for a second. And so that's what I did. I slowed down. I stepped back for a second. And I didn't take any more trades until I traded LSDI. And so let's see. Let me just look at the time here. So LSDI starts squeezing up. This one had news at about 8 a.m. And so news comes out. No, sorry, it was a little earlier. It was like 7:50. Anyways, it starts squeezing up. And initially, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to buy a breakout on it because, I just lost on 2 breakout trades. So I'm going to look for a dip. That's what I said. I'm going to look for a dip. So it hits a high here of 37. It pulls back, and I got in basically right in this area at about 37. It was for the break through the highs. And it ended up hitting a high of 45 and then dumping all the way down to $1.15. I had 5,000 shares. So now I'm down 20 cents on 5,000 shares or whatever it was. I sold for a 15-cent loss. I'm down $800 on it. So now I'm down 2,100, and I'm thinking, all right, I'm starting to get close to that minus $2,500 spot, which is where I'm sort of setting my, big caution flag coming out to be very, very careful. And then that's when I took my first trade on JDZG. And this one's kind of annoying because I actually bought it. This is an unusual trade for me, I'll say. I'll show you where I got in. So I actually bought it. It sold off down here, and I got in at 5:30 right here, right about 5:30. It ends up hitting a high of 5:44. And I was thinking, stop at the low, looking for that curl back up. Let's see. Hold on. Let me just check the time of that trade. It was 8:33. What was the time here? No, sorry, it wasn't right there. It was I got in at 8:33. It was right. Is this 8:33? 8:31, 8:32, 8:33. Yeah, it was right here. Okay, so we had just popped up. We were starting to curl a little bit. And I was thinking, all right, maybe what I'm thinking on this is a curl back up to VWAP. And son of a gun, it did it. It did it. But it did it slowly. And I ended up stopping out of it for I think it was a $200 loss. So it was a small loss, but through here I was just like, okay, maybe this isn't happening. Exposure risk. The spreads were kind of opening up, and then they would tighten, and then they would open up. And so at one point I was down like 500, and then the spread got tighter. So anyways, the spread gets tight. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sell this, get out. So I sold and got out. It ends up ripping all the way up to 7. Right. Of course. Typical. Now, the reason I took that trade was because AWIN yesterday had kind of a similar big spike, and then it dropped down and then rallied back up. So that was right in here. So it's sort of similar here, big spike, sold off, and then kind of rallied. So that's kind of what I was thinking. Anyways, so ZD, GD, sorry, stupid stock, ZG. Anyway, so this one, I lost on it right here. Then it does what I thought it would do. And then I got back in it right here as it started to curl up. I thought as we broke this pivot that we would break through VWAP. And then it just rejected. And on that one, I ended up losing like $1,100. That was my biggest loss of the day. And that's what put me down then like 3,800. Or actually, I think I lost like almost 1,400 on that. So at that point, and I only bought 3,000 shares. I bought 3,000 shares at 675, 680, something like that for the break through the high, and then break through VWAP, and then stopped out on this candle wick. So at the open, it ended up squeezing up, but then it halted down, opened lower, and anyways, it's not a big deal. It's just, I just was not able to get on the right side of anything today. And so I sat here, I hit 3,800 in the red right there at 9:15 a.m. And I was like, all right, you know what? I'm probably going to be done here. But let's just see if anything else shows up. Maybe we'll have something that's clean at the open. I don't know. Sort of doubtful, but you never know. So at the open, I'm watching to see if anything starts to curl and move higher. And there really was nothing. LSDI halted down a couple times at the open. FFIE, yeah, it started to move up, but I wasn't interested in that. TSRI buyout. BMTX, I was watching it around 3, but then it had this kind of nasty flush right here. Flushes all the way down to like 240. So that was kind of gross. Anyways, there just was nothing. And so I'm left feeling a little bit, honestly, I just feel a little bummed because my accuracy was so low today. When I was down 3,800, I wasn't even thinking I was going to get myself back to green today or back to flat. I was just kind of like, you know what? If there's something nice that sets up, I'll take a couple trades on it. And that'd be, if I end the day with a couple of green trades, that would just be a little confidence booster compared to ending after like 5 consecutive losers in a row. But I don't want to force it, and there's nothing that looks good, so I'm ending after 5 consecutive losers. Now, sometimes I'll say if I have 3 consecutive losers, I'm going to walk away right then and there. The fact is, my first 2 or 3 losers were small. I never went down deep into the red, which is good. But, if the losses are small, I don't mind taking a few of them in a row. I mean, if that's what it is, it's not a big deal. But anyways, today I just couldn't get anything going. So I don't know. I don't know what we're going to get tomorrow. This was a good week in a lot of ways, but tomorrow, Friday, end of the week, I don't know. Maybe I have to set expectations kind of low, especially since today has been seemingly so slow. It is only 10:30. It's possible. Well, I guess it's 11 a.m. It's possible there'll be something later in the morning or later in the afternoon, but I just don't really expect it. And I'm not going to take any trades. I'm going to close this down right here, and I'm not going to look at charts for the rest of the day. I just, you know what I mean? Like this is not the day to dig deep into trade later in the day. Then next thing you know, I'm jumping in something like this U-car. And look, maybe it goes to $10, or I get in more likely at 734 and then it dumps to 6 and another giant red candle because there's not a lot of momentum today. It's not obvious. In this case, there's not a lot of volume. And so it's like the days that you want to dig deep and push hard is when you're making money. Days like today, you push hard, you're just going to give back a lot of profit. So I already gave back a good chunk of what I made yesterday. Don't need to give back more. It's been a good week. So I'm going to go into a capital preservation mode here and resist the urge to try to sit here and wait for something to maybe start to move, because the odds are a lot higher that if I keep trading, I'll dig the hole deeper. All right, so that's it for me. Going to manage my risk and lock it down here. Reminder, as always, trading is risky. My results aren't typical, and there's no guarantee you'll make money whether you trade with me or you learn on your own. So manage your risk, take it slow, and let's see you guys back here on Friday tomorrow morning.